Hello, welcome to Somerset News Network. What I'd like to do now is we'll have a look and see how Biden won the election in America. Now, I'm getting lots of stories from my friends in the States. I've got friends in Montana, in Arizona, in Nevada, in Michigan, and in Pennsylvania. And I'm asking them what's happening, what's going on. Can you tell me what's happening around your area? We've also got the network, the social media that we trust. Now, we know there's a lot of crap spoken on this YouTube, but I try and find the truth. I try and find the best information I can. I was a gunsmith. I still am a gunsmith. But I was a DJ. I've been in bands. I was an intern for BBC Radio. I've worked with journalists. I was a information gatherer, a researcher. I can remember working for the BBC for free. I was seconded to a radio program when I was a youth worker. I used to do youth work in the evenings, and they needed youth workers to help out on a project. And it was to teach kids how to revise for their exams for O-levels and A-levels. So we were talking to kids between 16 and 18. I was asked to go in as a youth worker to help out. On the side of that, I was helping the newsroom and the sports desk as a researcher doing projects. It was a small affair. I'm not going to say I was brilliant at it, but there was only a small team in there, and they had so much to do. They had more work to do than they could produce a program, but they managed it every week. So I was given books to read and write notes on the book. So I'd read the book during the week and then take it back in the weekend. And fascinating books. So I'd read the book over the week and pick out things that were interesting. I read Mike Proctor's biography, a South African cricketer. He played for Gloucester, which is local to us here. And I've seen him play in Bristol when I used to be... Well, I wasn't a member of Gloucester Cricket Club. My dad was a member of Gloucester Cricket Club. And he had a season ticket for Bristol. And his name is William Keith, and my name's Ian Keith. So I used to take his ticket. There was no photograph on it or anything. It was just a membership card. I used to borrow his ticket and go and watch the cricket. Mike Proctor. I've seen Botham and Richards play. You Americans, if you're watching this, you won't have a clue what I'm talking about. It's like you trying to talk American football to me. But Mike Proctor was a South African. He came over to England, played for Gloucestershire, but couldn't play international cricket with South Africa because of apartheid and the sanctions that were introduced. In the book, he says that he could play with a black guy, have drinks in the bar in the clubhouse with him, and then when they went home on the train, they had to sit in different carriages. He thought it was wrong, and he fought against apartheid for the rest of his life. So I try to find out information and little stories and why make people tick. I suppose I've become a sociologist, working in the youth club and watching kids trying to chat each other up. And one, you had to stop fights if you had discos, so you became a bouncer. And you were watching life in front of you. You could see the girls like the bloke, and they were dancing and trying to get the guy interested, and the guy wouldn't budge, and you could say, she likes him, but he don't want to know. And then you get some that get together and spark, and some of them have been married for 40 years now. You know, so I've watched life in front of me. I'm getting off the subject, but I'm trying to show you that I've got a wide experience of things that weren't my job, and I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I've seen things and been things, and been with things, seen things and I've seen things and understand things. And one thing that happened was when I started doing country shows, I started meeting people from magazines, and they would take a photograph of me repairing guns on the bench. And then one of the editors of a magazine, the Shooting News, said, why don't you write for me? Because I was complaining about the crap that was being written about in the papers. So I started becoming a journalist and writing about hunting and country sports and fishing and shooting and all that sort of thing. Which meant I had to then do the research, the type of thing I was doing when I was working for the BBC. I did the research and I found out all sorts of things. And I would put them in the articles. And I did that for about 10 or 15 years. 15 years I think I did it for. Now, we come back to the election and what I see is happening and looking for the information that I can find. Doing my research, as I'm saying. We are told, even the BBC are saying it, CNN, ABC, you know, we can see those on YouTube. You know, they're saying that Biden has won, he's gone past the winning post, and there's no evidence of fraud. And they keep repeating this. There is no evidence. Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani, the ex-mayor of New York, held a press conference. He's Trump's leading attorney. And he had two ladies with him. Oh, I forget their names. But they were explaining what has happened at this election. And if you watch the video that I put up before, if YouTube don't take it down, but it will be on Rumble, because I'll put it up on Rumble and they won't take it down. Giuliani says that they have come across voter fraud in a number of states. They have had 125%, 200%, and in one case 300% return on postal votes. Now, my maths isn't that strong, but even I understand if you put out a number of postal votes, you cannot get over 100% back. It's just physically impossible. Now, why have they counted 125%, 200%, or even 300%? How has that happened? Giuliani suspects that they've printed other fake ballot papers off. So they want to have a look at the ballot papers because the ballot papers have a watermark on them. he says that the fake printed ones has not got the watermark on. Now, this is serious stuff, mind. You know, the leading country in the world, land of the brave and home of the free, cannot even have a free and fair election. This is really serious. You know, Giuliani says that the voting machines that count the votes are worked on a Venezuelan computer program. And you think, nah, come on, that can't be true. No way would the Americans ever allow that to happen. But this was all organised under Obama. This time, they weren't going to have the same problems as they had with Hillary. The problem was they didn't rig it enough. Too many people voted for Trump. This time, Trump, we're told, has the biggest vote out for Republicans ever, and he still didn't win. So, if they did rig it, they had to rig it big. So would that explain why we have 125%, 200% and 300% returns on the postal votes? Don't you smell a rat? Can't you see what's happening? You know, there was a report on one YouTube channel, one reporter went to a polling station and was telling people they have to sign the form, put a cross or a mark or whatever you do in America. They have to sign it with a biro, with a black ink pen. The Democrats that were controlling the polling station were handing out what they called Sharpies, styluses, scratchers. So people would put a mark where they wanted to vote, but there would be no ink on it. Those votes would be thrown out, and most of those votes would have been for Trump. Or they take the paper and put the pen in on Biden. Do you see how the scam's working? So, you say, well, they monitor the vote, don't they? You've got international people that can come over and monitor a vote to make sure it's fair. We haven't seen any of them, and none of them have said anything. You also have both sides are allowed to view the ballot papers being counted, but they're being controlled by the Democrats, and the Republicans aren't allowed in. They're telling them, because of the COVID and the restrictions and social distancing, they have to be 6 or 10 feet back, away from the table, so they can't see them count. Giuliani reports in his press conference that they have affidavits from people, sworn testimony, that the votes for Biden went through the machine 3 or 4 times. So, now we're beginning to see how they got over 100% return. You just count the votes twice. Giuliani says that the Venezuelan computer program, a 1 vote for Trump would be a 0.75 count, and a vote for Biden would be a 1.5 count. Biden ends up with more points than Trump would. They have rigged the election. The United States election is not sound. So if Biden gets into the White House, you have a president that has got into the White House on fraud. The most important thing is to have a free and fair election. I don't know if the Giuliani press conference will stay up on YouTube. I don't know if they'll take it down. I don't even know if you'll be able to see it. I won't be shadow banned in America. But I'm going to put it up because it was a press conference. And as a responsible journalist, I will put it up in full. It's an hour and a half, but you've got to watch it. All of it. Take the time. Find out what's going on. And what happens to the media who has been reporting that there's nothing to see? And that it's all fake news coming out of Trump. Well, they've stopped using that term now. Have you noticed that? As Trump's been calling CNN and ABC fake news, and it's beginning to stick, they've now stopped using that term. It's up to America to stand up and say we want a free and fair election. Now, what do I think should happen? Well, I think there ought to be recounts. I think the postal votes ought to be checked to make sure they got that watermark on. You know, you can't have a recount and count it by the computer because the computer can't be trusted. So it has to be a manual count. And it has to be a manual count, free and fair, with Republican and Democrats watching. It has to be. Otherwise, you're just repeating what you've already done. The other option is to prove that the election results are fake. Because if the results are going in and Trump has won and it's coming out as Biden win, that's fake. So the election should be null and void. It should be scrapped. And then hold an election as a paper ballot only. No computers involved anywhere. Yes, it's going to take a lot of time. Yes, there's a lot of things to count. But you break it down into districts, don't you, in America? So each district will count. So the postal votes will go out. The election will be held. People will go to the election station and everybody will be told that they got to vote with a ballpoint pen and put an ink mark on it so that everybody knows what to do. In one state, one report I had said that people were offered money for their ballot paper. Now that's highly illegal, surely. In one case, they were saying they were paying $200 for a ballot paper. And you say, well, who's paying for this? Well, it turns out that it's alleged, and they've got to use that word alleged now, is that it was Zuckerberg, the guy that owns Facebook. He's dished out the money so the Democrats can buy the voting papers for it and vote for their man, Biden. The whole thing absolutely stinks. I think you're going to have to rerun the election and do it on paper only and count only, and the count will have to be both Democrat and Republican side by side all the way through. And then both of them can see that it's fair. You know, it's the only thing you can do. You have to rerun the election. You can't recount on the computers because the computers can't be trusted. Anyway, Ian saying, I hope my friends in America sort this problem out. And if it's happening in America, what's going to happen here in my country? Are we going to say the same type of fraud here? Believe it or not, we already have. And we have councillors in Birmingham, 2 of them, done 2 years for election fraud. So we've already got it here in the UK. Anyway, Ian, Somerset News Network, signing off. My little rant for this morning is over. Cheers.